Hey guys, so coming back, we are going to mix up some counterculture DIY artist resin. Biggest thing that I want to do is to finish this beautiful piece that is coming along, and I want to do it with the counterculture resin. So that's going to be our first piece, and then with some leftover, we'll do a couple other things. I want to experiment with some colors and things that I want to kind of start getting an idea on for a special gift for somebody. So let's get our cups. Let me find a couple pairs of gloves so we can get this resin mixing, because we know it's got to set for a little bit, especially the counterculture. We determined the timeline I was using for that big long series seems to be pretty good with the counterculture. The other resins might need a little tweaking with it, but alright, so I have big containers here. Oh, this one doesn't have a stopper lid. That's probably why it's yellow. Actually, I don't think it did have it. Never mind. I was thinking, oh, I forgot to put it on. I am going to do 100 ml of each of these because I really want to get as much as I can in it and mixed essentially. So I am going to do 100 each and then put it in my big cup to stir it. So that was B. B is a little bit yellow. That's just because air has gotten into the bottle and it's changed it. Once we mix it and get colorant in it, it's not going to matter. I think I poured a little more than 100 of B. So I'm going to pour that and check this. Oh yeah, I totally poured more than 100. Okay, so probably another glove. Now this is 1-in-1 resin, which is what I like to work with. It is key to get even amounts of 1-in-1 so that you don't have a mixing issue. If you don't have an even amount of both parts, you may not cure the way it needs to. It may not get as hard of a cure. You could end up with just a really inconsistent curing. I did want to tell y'all that in that last series we were worried about this piece not getting hardened enough. It just needed more time. It is completely solid, not bendy, fantastic. So I just wanted to tell y'all. I meant to say that at the beginning and then forgot. Okay. Yep, that's very even. Alrighty. Make sure my cup didn't have any crazy particles. So we're doing a smidge over 100. Now, I do not like to do more than that. This is kind of my limit. Alright, because if I mix more than 100 ml, you can start to have some flash curing happening and not have enough time to work with it. And you're probably doing too big of a pour or project to do it all in one pour. So that is why I limit myself. I had this great idea when I first started doing resin. I was like, you know, if I'm going to take the time to mix resin, I should do this big pour. It turned into an absolute disaster. It was a full-on flash curing situation, which is where the resin gets way hot and can even begin to start a fire. Luckily, that situation didn't start any fire, but it became very solid, very fast. And I lost probably about 100 ml of resin. Well, probably close to 200 ml, because that was probably about what was left, was 100 each. So, resin isn't cheap, and that was very devastating to me. So, I learned that resin, again, is not a fast hobby. It cannot be rushed to an extent, and you can't mass produce in the sense of like, hey, we're gonna get lots made today. You're gonna have to mix in smaller batches. Mixing in big batches, you just aren't gonna have time. It's gonna cure before you have an opportunity to work with it. So we're gonna stir this for about 3 minutes. I do have a mixer that I'm going to get hooked up soon. It does have to be connected to a wall outlet to mix it. I know it's shocking. I reworked my craft space so many times. So many times over I've worked the space. But I really want this table to cut some fabric that I need to do for some sewing projects that I got coming up. So I need this table to be in the center of my craft space for me to do that. So pretty soon I'm going to be swapping my tables around, and with that I think that I'll have access to an outlet on this wall that's in my craft space, and I'll be able to hook that up, and I'll show y'all when we do that. And I can't wait, because I'm gonna be honest, my wrists get really tired of going round and round on these big batches especially. But these big batches do need a good 3 minutes. And I was just scraping all the edge there, and then I'm gonna scrape my tool. This is already looking really good, which is always a good sign. And like I said, that yellow is going to clear fully up once we get cruising. You could always add a little colorant into it to offset the yellow, but anytime I've done that, I've made it like worse. So I've just learned, roll with it, it will clear up as we go. Alright, about a minute more. And it's really about consistency and looking at it. Yeah, I see a lot of bubbles, but between the bubbles I'm seeing clear, or maybe a smidge yellow tint. I'm not seeing these thready strings, which would tell me that the resin has not mixed together. The parts have not conformed together. And when I lift it up and let it run off of my star tool, my star stick, that is looking really clear, and so I know that it's getting the proper mix. And that comes with time. You're gonna learn like those signs. You're gonna go, oh, you start doing this and following the instructions and following the tutorials. You're gonna mix it, and you're gonna be like, oh, that's what they're talking about. Okay, I see that. Okay, so we have quite a few bubbles in this right now. So I'm going to go ahead, hit a little bit of heat on the top and a little bit of heat on our bottom. And I'm going to pound our bottom a few times. That's just going to help those bubbles push through the surface. We're not going to get the bubbles that are in the middle. They're too sunk in right now. I'm going to move this out of our way, because what I want to do is do some cleanup and get ready for showing you all how to clean it up and letting that resin set up for a minute, because we need to let it rest. I'm going to use that term. It needs to rest for a few minutes. If you hear the dogs, my daughter's taking them for a walk and they get super excited. Door's closed. They're not in here. But it could be loud. I don't know how much it's going to come through on the video, so just let me know that. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to clean this mess that I have on my leveling table, because it's quite a mess. I am going to take my gloves off for this part, because otherwise I just get stuck to them constantly, and it bugs me. Oddly bugs me. So I did wipe them off with a paper towel and rubbing alcohol. That way I didn't get resin on my fingers. Okay. Packing tape. Best friend for this part. Alright, it is our bestest friend. Do I have scissors over here? I know I have scissors over here. I would like to say that probably one of my kids ran off with them, but nope, they're just buried. I can't blame the kiddos this time. Alright, packing tape is, truthfully, when I'm doing this big of a surface, is the best to use just because you can get more surface area done. Like, see all this mica that's on there? That may not fully come off with this. Oops. And then we're losing stickiness, so we're just gonna, goodness. Yep, surely you hear the dogs. But I'm going to get it as much as I can. And this is why I didn't want gloves on, because it's just going to be a mess. But we got lots off what we can. And then you can kind of do that with your nails. And see how it is getting cleaned up. There's still going to be some chunks. These bigger pieces are going to come right off if I kind of curl the mat. It's already looking cleaner, which is nice. I hate that my mat like grew this like bubble. I don't know why it won't lay flat now. It like grew its own little bubble for whatever reason. And we won't spend, like, this isn't going to be perfectly clean, but, you know, it's going to be a little bit cleaner than what we started with. So if you roll your mat, you can see all these pieces start to kind of fall off. Biggest thing is, if you're doing this and you do have resin resting, we want to make sure that we're not flicking these pieces into our fresh resin, because we don't want that. And then I'm just going to shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out. Okay, so our table is still very level, which is what we want. And now that is much better. Now, to do the final little bit, I'm going to just throw some rubbing alcohol on it and grab a paper towel and go ahead and just spread that around. That's going to clean up the micas for the most part. It's just going to get this a little bit more clean. And this is just kind of a bonus little thing while we're letting that resin rest, that I just wanted to share it with everybody, because I know as a resin artist, these things get crazy messy, and it's like, yes, we watch the videos and we see all the pretty things being made, but what really goes in behind it? Y'all know that I'm very much, this is reality of resin making. Okay, so we ended up with still a few little spots of resin, but definitely look how much cleaner that is. It feels really good. Okay, so I'm going to put gloves on before I grab that cup. I almost grabbed it without gloves. Because it's rested for about 5 minutes. Which is pretty perfect. And I'm going to show y'all. Look at all these micro bubbles that have pulled up to the surface. I'm going to center y'all, bring you in. Look at those mica bubbles. All that has pulled at the top. So, watch this magic. Well, hold tight. Okay. Sorry, y'all are bouncing. My sister called and I needed to take that call. I was like, I have resin poured. I gotta call you back, okay? She's like, okay. I'm like, I gotta finish this tutorial. I'm like, everything good? Good, great. Call you back. So, a little bit of heat gun. Look at all those little bubbles. That bubble pool completely, mostly popped. There's still a lot of micro bubbles in there. Again, I'm not stressed about these. We're going to be adding colorant and it's going to be just fine. Alright? So, I'm going to set that to the side. Let it rest just a little bit more. We're going to clean these two molds because I want to test some colors on them. I should have enough resin to get them done. But if I don't, that's also fine. We can do it another round. But I do want to try to get them. Now I'm going to do the fun with gloves on and try to clean these because I got a little distracted. Okay. These I just pulled out of my drawer where I keep my molds. But I've used them before, so they've got little bits of glitter or maybe mica or resin pieces that just kind of linger. And let's be real, dust from sitting in the drawer. So, packing tape, our best friend. Other than it sticks to our gloves. And I think I got most of it. There's a little bit in that one that's being a little stubborn. And so I might just use a smidge of masking tape to get these little spots. Just so that I don't have to deal with that. And if some of these glitter pieces roll to the next, it's not going to be the end of the world. Somebody's looking that close, then they shouldn't be buying art, right? Okay. Let's get this. So, if you recall on our coasters, we want to get a layer of clear in. The key is to get this layer of clear in and let it start setting. Reason for that is that when we add our colorant, then our resin can move, but we don't want it to move too much to meld with itself. Now, some artists will sit here and measure that out and have it identical, so forth. Do what works for you. I just do it by eyesight, honestly. And I try to get it in all the little petals. So this one, these molds you'll notice don't have the center design in them. I wanted to do a little different and go with just kind of a blank flower mold. They're a little bit smaller too than the others. I'm going to go ahead and hit us with some heat. Constantly moving our heat gun, because we want that heat gun to constantly move and not set too far. Sorry, another family member, my dad, texted me. I'm like, goodness, popular tonight. I'm going to have to start sending them the tutorial schedule. I'll be like, you know, I'm MIA during this time. My immediate family in the household knows, but my extended family that doesn't live with me doesn't realize. But we want to keep this moving because I don't want to get the resin too hot and I don't want to have it catch fire. You know, nobody wants that. Now, I see some bubbles. So, silicone brush is going to help bring these bigger bubbles to the surface. I do see some micro ones. I'm not really worried about them, but I don't want these big ones sitting in our petals because they will get stuck down there and they will not come to the surface and get popped. So, taking your silicone brush along the edges, bring that up. Now you can also, when doing this, inadvertently create more bubbles, so just be aware of that. And again, you'll find your way. You will find your rhythm with it. Okay? So don't think that if you do it once and you're like, I followed those steps and it didn't quite work, or this. You know, these are just guidelines. Find your rhythm. So I'm just trying to hit the edges again where those bubbles, these big bubbles are trying to hide out on us. And that's looking so much better. Sometimes you gotta get kind of in it. If you see my head, sorry, my hair's a mess. But yeah, I think that's much better. Okay, so we're gonna mix some colors up that we're gonna use. And I'm gonna grab some paper cups because I don't want to have to clean the colorants out of the silicone, essentially. Let's see, I'm gonna need I need like 5. Oops, probably for this one. Let's just grab a whole nother stack. And I'll move this table so that y'all can see these cups that I'm doing, because I want you to be close enough. It's a fine art here, y'all. Fine art. Okay, so I am going to try to somewhat evenly distribute this resin into these cups, which, you know, we're not measuring, we are eyeballing. And with that, I didn't do math to divide it by 5 to know exactly how much to pour into each. I'm not going to worry about that. And if I don't end up with exactly the same in each cup, that's okay. It's not going to take all this. But these colors I want to play with on these coasters, I think will give a really unique vase look. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix those colors and not worry about trying to mix colors for 2 different projects, basically, because we're just going to use what we have. Now, I am trying to get every little bit out of our cup, which I think I have done most of what I can. I mean, now it's getting towards just more time consuming, and we don't have that kind of time. Okay, because we've got to get these going. All right, so I want to play with this mica. It's called Teal Twinkle. It is by Counterculture DIY. It is a beautiful teal green, and we're going to put a pretty nice chunk right in there. And then we're going to do a couple different alcohol inks. And then I see I dropped a little bit in there. That's fine. This is a shimmer mint. I think it's just going to add a really sweet kind of detail on it. Now, the colorant was very clearly stuck at the bottom, so you want to shake really well. I'm going to do like 6 drops, I think, approximately. We'll stir that. We'll see how it is. I might need to put a few more in there. Now this is an ocean green, which I think is going to be really pretty. I did about 7 or 8 drops into that one. Alright, now we're going to get to play with something we haven't played with yet on my tutorials. And that is this dispersion color. This is a sky blue, but it has a real greenish tint to it. And I think that it will counter or co-color well with these colors that I'm doing. Now, it's not going to take much at all. So like maybe just a smidge more. Very little amount. And you're going to see why, because it's going to mix up very much like our casting craft does. Now I've got quite a bit of white here, so I'm going to go ahead and probably do about 10 drops of our casting craft. I wish it would come out as easy as the other. That sky blue. I think I did 11, but that's okay. All right, so now we got to mix these. Ew, what just fell into that? Did y'all see that? Where did that come from? What was that? Okay. Weird. I don't even know what that was or where it came from. It's like a plastic piece. I'm gonna have to watch the video and see where in the heck that came from, because that is bizarre, y'all. I don't know what that is, but I don't have time to figure that out. So we're just gonna all right, move forward, y'all. We're gonna push on here. I don't know what happened. All right, so these are just little paddle palette sticks. I use them sometimes, and they were the most handy. I was looking for my other ones that I normally use. I didn't see them. I think they're in my pile that I cleaned, and so I just grabbed one of these. Now, I wasn't worried about the mixing of those two colors, just because it's not going to matter. Now, here's this. Look at this. You see that? So it needs a little more mixing. It is getting pretty warm. I can feel it in my gloves. So we're going to have to kind of cruise. That's why I can't, as much as I'm perplexed by that plastic piece, I got to keep moving. And really my stick didn't have a ton on it, so I just went ahead and moved over to this one just for time's sake. This has a really pretty shimmer in it, and I really like that. I think it's going to add a nice little touch. Alright. Oh yeah, we've got to move. We might have waited too long. This resin's getting really hot. Like almost to where I can't hold, not to where I can't hold the cup, but it's definitely warm. Okay. So I'm going to start this one with the mica, and I'm going to do swirls. Well, kind of squiggly swirls. Getting a little bit thicker outside there. This one I'll do like not really petals, but kind of giving us that look. Okay. And we're going to do a similar thing here. This one I almost can't see it. It's so transparent. So that's a little wild, but I think it will give us a really neat effect when all is said and done. That's pretty. Pretty. And I'm rotating like mica to alcohol to this dispersion. Mica's going to sink. I probably should have done mica last, but being in a hurry. Basically just trying to rotate thicker resin to thinner. Alcohol inks are going to make it thinner. It's a thinner portion, more transparent. And the mica and the dispersion color are going to be thicker. So I'm going to kind of just do where I pour into one of these cups, basically. Just because I know that we got to move kind of quick here. I'm just going to pour into there, pour into that. And I'm going to have to watch this video back later tonight. I usually don't watch them all the way through, and I won't watch it all the way through, but I really am curious what in the world happened. I must have kicked it up from something, but that was wild. And this is good because it's giving that some time to just kind of rest where it is, and bubbles to move forward and up. And then I'm going to just take this. Oh, of course you can't see one of the coasters. You're like, what did you do? I'll bring them back into view here in a minute. That didn't even fill this, which probably good. I was a little bit worried if I got this one completely done that it's so thick still here at the end that we would end up having a flash cure. And with as warm as this resin is, probably not our best idea to have it all the way full. So this will go another round, but that's okay. All right. See, got that in there. Okay. Now, a lot of times I'll pipe my white, but tonight I'm not, okay? I'm going to show you. I'm going to do just what I did with these, so I'm glad you'll get to see this one. I'm going to just follow similar. Now, the white is a sinker, so in theory, it's going to help push those colors down. And you'll see what I'm doing on this one. I just was doing this. It's nothing fancy. Just making a swirly motion. Curly Q. And then I'm going to pour a little bit worried about that, but it is done. I was getting really hot, the white was. So it had to get in there. And y'all can't see that. Dang it. I'm too zoomed in for you guys to see this. I'm going to pull it back though before I do the next thing so that you can see where this one is at. So most of that white being at the bottom or at the top now. What I'm going to do so that we can get a little bit of color still in it, I'm going to put a couple drops of this, and it's going to run down the sides. I'm going to throw a couple drops of this one, and it's going to run down the sides. I see a hair in there. Like, nice, nice, nice. And then I'll take a silicone brush and one, try to get this hair out. Two, take this and just do a little mixeroo. A little swirl, shall we say. Round and round. And what a sticky mess. Okay. Well, that's going to be what it's going to be. You know? And then we need to get these coasters manipulated. So, basically, I'm going to hit them with just a little bit of heat. I see a few big bubbles. Maybe. And you'll see the resin's moving some, which is good. I want it to still be somewhat moving at this phase, because I want it to really start to bloom. But I want to help these blooms be beautiful, shall we say. So I am going to bring it to the center, and then I'm going to take my brush and wipe it off in my paper towel. Reason for that is so that I don't commingle our lines. If you don't wipe off your brush, you'll start to just have a gooey mess, and it's you'll have your lines all run together. And then on this one, I'm going to just do a center to the out on the center one. I'm not going to go in every single petal like I did on those last ones. And you see how stringy it is when I'm coming up off of here? That is because this resin is just pert near done with being worked. It is like we aren't getting worked anymore kind of thing. It is pretty well done. So same thing. I'm going to go ahead and just, I know I told y'all don't do that, but for time's sake, I just kind of need to keep moving. And that white, whew, was almost too much in that cup that it just got too hot in that short little space. I think it almost maybe melted my tip. I'm going to just like swirl that in the center because it is not wanting to look at all that's coming off with it. It's coming off in chunks. Hopefully this isn't a complete dud, but if it is, guess what? Y'all will get to see a fail. And I think it was just the timing between the phone call and the time that I took to let it rest. It was almost a little too much time. This one looks really pretty though. I do want to throw a little bit of yellow. Oh, this is mustard. Into the center. I'm gonna see, this is kind of an experiment. I don't normally would do this, but I would like to see if we end up with some yellow popping through. I don't know if we will, just with how these are, but we'll see. Can't hurt to do that. So now lastly, one more time with just a little bit of heat. That will help with some of this blooming of these petals. You can see. And if you don't want it to bloom more, then don't do very much. But I wanted to get some of the bubbles just gone ahead and popped. I do love that mica powder. That is a really pretty mica powder. And that's the mica powder I wanted to really experiment with. And we'll see how the others do, the dispersion color and micas. I know I haven't said it in a video probably for a little bit, so I just want to explain here. Resin's going to pull to your center. So you notice that white is pulling to the center, the colors are pulling to the center. It's going to find the center of your piece. If your piece is not perfectly flat and level, your center isn't going to be the center of your mold. So hence why it's so important to get our table level, to then make sure our molds are level, to then make sure that our resin can level evenly, so that our centers are truly our centers. It's just something you'll learn as you do resin. Also, like at one point, I was loving how it was blooming. As I started to hit the heat, it's moving a little bit, and maybe I'm not loving the bloom as much. I still think it's really pretty. I'm not saying that. But this isn't going to be the final look. It's going to move some more. Despite that white being really sticky and tacky at this point because it's curing so fast, it's going to have some more movement. It just is. That's how resin works. So maybe not as much as it would had it not gotten so hot so quick, but you know. Did hit this with some heat too, just to pop any bubbles that have surfaced on it. It looks pretty kind of cool in there. It's very warm, which is to be expected. I would expect that, although it's maybe a little bit warmer than I would like it to be. So it's something I'll probably monitor for the next little bit, just to make sure that, hey, we're good. We're not going to have any sort of smoking flash. Excuse me, flash cure type thing. Okay. A little bit of rubbing alcohol on here. Wipe off my gloves. Whew, those are pretty. Goodness. Had me nervous there for a minute. But we've made it. Now, I did get something new to try for the cover. And I was going to unpack it earlier. And then, honestly, I don't know what happened here. I swear, ADHD brain here. I don't know if I've said it on the video, but my therapist did say, yep, we're diagnosing you with ADHD because you definitely have that. So, this is, it's going to be hard to see. I'm going to try to zoom us out. This is a food cover for, like, if you were going to be outside and want to cover your food from bugs. And look at that. So it's got the ventilation, but unless it's a really tiny bug, it's not getting in. Unless it's a really, really tiny dust particle, it's not going to get in. So I think this will be better than my tote thing. These were not expensive at all. I looked for them at the Dollar Tree. I didn't find them there. I didn't see any. Probably out of season, a smidge for us. But I found these on Amazon, so we'll link these. They fold up really nicely. I got a pack of 3 or 4, I can't remember, for like $7, $8. But they just fold really nicely, and then they just pull up, and yeah, pretty cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm trying to clear space over to my side here, and ideally I'll probably, before I leave the craft space, put this back in this spot just because I know it's level, and I don't know if over here is level, but I'm hoping it is relatively level. So I'm just trying to clean and clear, oops, a little bit of space so that I can slide these bubbles over. Goodness. That's the other reason why I've got to come into this space and get things, I think, flip-flop my tables and everything, because it's going to force me to clean. Gonna force it. Okay, so they're off to the side. I'll be careful to not spray rubbing alcohol. Here's that piece that fell. It really does look like a piece of plastic. And what's weird is it was in the alcohol ink. So, like, look at that. Where did that come from? I'm hoping y'all saw it. I'm hoping it's on the video because it's going to drive me bonkers otherwise. Alright. So, lovely thing about our paper cups. Guess what? We don't got to clean them. Now, I will clean the stick. So, I'll pull that out so I can clean it. I think I use those. We'll clean them. This has some rubbing alcohol that's already sort of probably done some cleaning for us, but for the most part it's pretty clean. So we're going to use it to just kind of get this first round of resin off of our tools. That just gives us a starting point. Ooh, this one's going to be nasty. These were pretty cheap too. I could just toss it, but it came pretty clean. That's why I like this system. Yes, this is a silicone mat, and yes, if it's bubbled up, it's going to come off easy, but if it's not, it's going to be a little more challenging. So, like, that's a really sticky spot right there for whatever reason. So, I'm just going to wipe it. Alright, straight into a little garbage bag. And then we still have these bituminous pieces to clean. So this was used in our last tutorial that I hadn't fully, it just had some colorant left over, so I'm going to use it to be the first round on this messy stuff. Again, these will not cure because it's only either part A or part B, whichever cup I grabbed. No one knows. Doesn't matter. It's not going to cure up, so you're going to want to clean them. If you have mixed resin, you can, if it's in a silicone cup, flip it upside down, let it cure upside down. Hopefully it flows to the bottom. You know, you would do this. It's on silicone mat. You'd come the next day. It should all come up and off. However, I scrape my bottles so much, and if you're going to flip it upside down, I think you should do it like right after you get done emptying the container so that it can flow, because I scrape my containers so much. There's one, not much here, and two, there is it's already hardening by the time I get to clean it. So if I flipped it at that point, it doesn't typically run down, and then now I still have a messy cup. Even though it's hardened, I just can't get the thin layers that it's created in there. So that's why I like to do this kind. This scenario works for me. Alright, so it's just a process. Slowly but surely, we keep kind of getting them fully cleaned. Once they're cleaned, I put them to the side. With this group of tools, they're really not going to need anything more, but I can use this paper towel to keep working our silicone cups, because really these didn't have much resin, if any, on them. So I have found 2-finger method is what works for me, and only, you know, I have paper towels that are like the half. I think that's pretty normal now. I don't usually see full paper towels that don't split in the middle, so I just use 1/2. If I use more than a half, if I use a full sheet or 2 of the halves, I struggle. On my big cups, it is a 4-finger cup, round and round, making sure I am pressing all the surfaces and getting it. I also like to do the outside of my cup, because where I handled it, or if there's little drips, that gets it clean too. So then the last one, I'll do one more. Those seem pretty clean, but just to make sure, I go ahead and do one more round through them, just to give that final run through. And then they just air dry, and they're done. Easy. Easy peasy. I am glad I'm not doing the tote tonight for the vase. That made me a little nervous. Alright. And then I'll leave this one. I use it to wipe my gloves off, but I'll leave it off to the side, and I'll use it next round. Next time I pour, to do the first round. Bring these back into view for y'all so you can see. So the resin has shifted a little bit. Nothing crazy, but it is pulling to the center. They're looking gorgeous. This one is looking good. It is pretty warm, I will say. Very, very warm. Again, see, 100 ml. That's like the sweet spot. Anything more than that, you just don't have time. And truthfully, 100 ml, like, a little sketchy there. So that's why I would say that for sure. So, all right, gloves off. If they rip, they rip. If they don't, they don't. You know what happens. If they rip, they go in the garbage. If they don't, they get reused next round. So, hope y'all enjoyed that. We'll come back on and mold. Oh, we may not be able to unmold those coasters actually. We'll want to put a back on them, I think, and then get them unmolded. So we'll mix up more resin next time, top the backs off, top that off, and potentially have a little bit extra for a little dish or something. And then we will do a reveal. All right, so probably a 2-part series for this one. And then shooting to do some, I've talked about it in the last round, where we let it cure for a few hours and then we actually mold our resin to the shape that we want it. So that will be a fun series to do too. All right, so, but I just have to do that and work that out on a weekend so that I can manage that time frame. But we're going to make it happen, by golly. So, hope y'all are well. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.